Come along with me today as I show you my first time harvesting herbs. Alright, so we are here in the herb garden. We got Jonathan and the baby. And this is what we're doing. So we got some herbs and we're going to try to dry them today, and we'll show you how we're going to be picking them. So here we go. Some oregano. I'm still learning about this, and my understanding is, I think this is golden oregano. So we're just going to pick a few of these leaves, and I think I've maybe left them out because here's some new. So I guess when it's golden like this, it's ready to pick. So we're taking off all the golden oregano like this, and so we're not going to have a whole lot, I don't think, but we're just taking off the leaves and show you how we're going to do it.
Someone's leaving.
So next we are moving on to this sage. Pick off the leaves like this. Now I'm not too familiar with sage. Like I said, this is like the first time doing this. So we're just going to pick off a few of the leaves and we're going to dehydrate them.
I'm about to get in the pool.
Okay, you can follow. Okay, so as you can tell, I have some help with camera stuff, but I've gotten some sage. I still want to leave some on here to grow. Like I said, this is all new to me. So next we'll move on to the parsley. And we've got two kinds of basil. Next we're picking off the parsley, and I'm just going to be using scissors. And we're going to be cutting the greener ones like this. We'll be leaving a few, and then some of these yellow ones I'll just pick off. Just got done with the parsley, and here's what it looks like. So there's a lot been cut off, like these new pieces I'm going to let grow. And so what we'll have to do is we'll have to end up doing a lot more work. Like when I dehydrate them, there'll be a little bit in the jar, and this will be like an all summer process. Next, just want to cut off by the stems because they get really tough. So we'll cut off a few sprigs because I like fresh rosemary, but yeah, that's what we do. Alright, so I said I had 3 different kinds of basil. Earlier I said I had 2, but I have 3. So I have this boxwood basil. I'm going to cut some of it off, and I'll trim some of these. Okay, so here is the cilantro. I've already cut it, and I've got some pretty purple basil. Now these are flowering, so my understanding is, like I said, I'm still new to this, so we want to cut those off. We don't want them. I found a few good leaves I will take in and just store it in the refrigerator. So here's a few of the cilantro leaves, but like these flowering, I don't think I want those yet, so I'm going to cut them off. And I'm still going to let some grow. Here's some good cilantro that I can use. But like I said, I'm all new to this, so I'm still learning. So it's like a journey. But I did pick off the tops. And here's like what a top looks like to the basil. And they say you pick those off. You don't want to completely clear it. And then this is Italian oregano. I'm going to cut a few branches off of it. And we'll do the thyme, and then we'll get the other basil. Okay, so here I got some herbs picked, and let me show you what we got. There's a lot to separate, a lot to dry. So some basil, rosemary, Italian oregano, thyme. So there's just a lot in here. So next step will be to dehydrate them. Okay, so we are back inside. Ignore my hair. It's been a long afternoon. So I've got my basil right here separated. I'm just making sure I got everything else. Now the boxwood basil, I can't seem to find. So I'm going to have to go back out to my herb garden and figure out what I've got. I've got my sage leaves here. I've got my rosemary separated. I've got my thyme. And I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the basil. We're going to lay it in my first tray of my dehydrate. And so we are going to lay it on the tray. So like I said, this is my first time trying this, so we'll see how it turns out together. And I'm going to mix the purple and the green basil together because they smell the same, so I don't really see where it's hurting. So, you know, where I picked off the stems, I'm just putting them down. Alright, so I've got the basil in the dehydrator. Next up, I am going to do sage. So next up is this sage I'm going to dry out. And we're just going to layer it on there. I don't want to overcrowd the dehydrator. And I can do it up to 4 different herbs because I have 4 of these trays. I sit in the best dehydrator. It's my husband's. He cooks his deer jerky in, and I've kind of confiscated it. So, yep. Okay, so I went ahead and put some rosemary on this because I did not pick enough sage. And last but not least, I'm only doing 3 trays because I'm having trouble remembering what I picked since I'm fairly new. So this is the thyme. This is the parsley. We are going to dehydrate those at a low temperature for a couple hours, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is day 2 of dehydrating. I pretty much did these overnight. I think they're as dry as they're just gonna get. And I've got some little jelly jars. I'm going to store them in. I'll show you what I normally store my herbs in. So I normally store them in these little mason jars with the lid, but since I'm going to be storing them, I want them in something bigger, and they may even move up to pints or quarts depending on how big they get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break off the stem, and this is the sage. So I'm just going to put it in here, and then it'll be pretty much crushed up. I do not want to use the stem, so I'm going to put those on my cutting board. Okay, so I got all the sage in the jar. There's not a lot. I'll have to go out and find my mason jar lids. Now I have like a little mortal pestle thing to smash these, but I'm going to use that. So I will write on the top of the mason jar lid and write sage, and as I dry them I'll add it. So you can tell it didn't add a lot, but I'm just starting to grow these. So next we'll grab another jar, and over here we have our rosemary. So basically with your rosemary, you're just going to use the outer leaves, and then you throw out the stem. So I'm just going to kind of crush those up in there. Okay, so I come back, I've got the rosemary done. As you can see, it's in the jar. As I need it, I can make it smaller or bigger. So our next one, this will be pretty simple. I will just throw all this in one because it's all basil. It's all different color basil. There was some rosemary in it, but it looks like basil's going to do pretty well this year for us. Okay, so I got the basil in here, and I can crush it as I need to. I'm not going to right now. The last one I have is parsley and thyme. Now I'm going to do the thyme Now see, this one is the one where it's kind of not really sure how to go about doing the thyme. Still, it's like a learning process for me, so if y'all are doing it, it'll be a learning process for you. It's just kind of nice to know that you can grow this, utilize your garden space, utilize what you have. I do not want any stems in here, so like I said, I'll probably leave these out in my house, and as I dry them over the summer, I'll just add to the jars, and then they'll go into the cellar for cooler storage. But where I have them, they'll still be airtight in the jar, so I don't have to worry about them. I can always take extra stems out if they do not do well. So like if I didn't want them in the soup or whatever I make spaghetti sauce, you can always take it extra out. So yeah, I'm kind of struggling here at this time. It's a little bit different. Okay, so I dried up the thyme. It was not a lot compared to what I put in. So there's one little stem in there. So I think a suggestion I would do the next time is I could have picked more basil or more whatever and had like a whole tray, because I'll tell you, a lot of this fell to the bottom of the dehydrator, as you all can tell, and it's all mixed up. And I could make it like an Italian seasoning, but I don't want to do that, so I have one more herb. Okay, I'm back. I have one more herb to do, and this is the parsley. It actually took the longest. So you don't want the stems on the parsley, you just want the leaf. Or I don't want the stem. I guess it doesn't hurt if you want to use it, but I don't want the stem in mine. I just want the leaf. So I'm just going to crush up the parsley, since that's the easiest way. I'll show you. Just grab the leaf, and it comes right off the stem. Actually, the parsley is the one I'm having the least amount of trouble with. And I would recommend putting the parsley and basil, if you do it together in your dehydrator, towards the bottom, because those seem to take the longest, especially the parsley for some reason. I guess there's a lot more moisture in it. And this is a mess, I'll tell you. If you have an outdoor space, I have a building that I call a wash house, but I keep like all my canning goods in there. Not my canned goods, like canning supplies, stuff like that. So it's overflow, and my kitchen don't get overwhelmed, because like I said, I have a tiny kitchen, so I don't want to overflow it. Alright, so we're done with the dehydrator. And now it'll be time to get that cleaned up. I'll just throw the, I have one where I can just throw it into the dishwasher. So here's parsley. As I said, it's all going to take time to dry up. So we got parsley, rosemary, thyme, sage, and basil. So I will find some lids, which I do know I have some out in the storage building, and I will get some lids and we'll get them pictured for I guess my Instagram post. And that is all I have for drying herbs today. So like, just keep with me this summer. I'm definitely going to show you all how to can tomato juice, one of my most favorite things to can. It is amazing. I can't use store-bought tomato juice anymore. So that's all I have today. So I helped you a little bit. Like I said, I am just a beginner. So if you all have any suggestions, or you all have done this before, let me know.